starting Refuge?
The catalyst for starting Refuge was that I have worked in several educational settings, private school setting and the alternative schools, and I found that I just really wanted a place to teach my kids that was safe and that allowed them to be free to express themselves from judgment and receive the support and structure that they needed if they were really serious about going to art school. So we also provide services for that.
How many years ago did you start it?
3 years.
Art can be so individual. How do you guide a young person and help them focus their talents into the right way without being, overbearing?
I think that's a constant. I don't think anybody's perfect at it, but I think that's a constant balance that you're trying to keep and really trying to strengthen those particular skills. And then when they gain that confidence, then I start finding other things that they need to strengthen in order to give them balance in their overall skills. But then I also always constantly apply everything that they're doing, the challenges that they face, the obstacles, their artwork falling apart, holes, mistakes as a part of life, and really try to help them use art not just as a tool for making pretty cool things, but as a tool for navigating obstacles in life. I think art is a form of critical thinking, and I want my students to become critical thinkers so that they can navigate this crazy world right now.
Why do you like working in Lowell?
Because they're the best kids I've ever worked with. I don't know, they're the best kids I've ever worked with. I love Lowell. I've worked in Philadelphia, I've worked in Lawrence, I've worked in Concord, and the kids here, they're just beautiful people. There's like a lot of all the different cultures, all the different energy. I don't know, the kids here I think is where my heart is. I feel like I found my home here when it comes to teaching.
What are some of the projects we might have seen around the city that your crew has worked on?
We've done the bottle wall. So we created a really awesome bottle wall that also doubled as a sundial. It's kind of a style of building that we're just really interested in, alternative methods of building. We have a lot of our students who are interested in building tiny homes, so we're kind of just playing around with different ways to construct things because we kind of feel like one day that's going to build up to something much larger. We've done several murals. We did one for the Mill City Grows office, and then we did one right out here outside Western Ave Studios for the Navigation Brewing Company. That's it.
What do you see for Refuge in the future, 5-10 years down the line? What would you like to do?
That's a tough question because Refuge is constantly growing and it's very organic, and how it changes, it's constantly changing. And so I feel that I don't want to put a label on anything because it's changed every year. It's become different population and different goal, different objectives. Like Build Something is definitely a departure from what our primary focus, which is portfolio development for students who want to go to art school. And Build Something has just kind of caught our heart. And so I kind of like not having a label on it. I do know that I am incorporating students that I used to teach maybe 5 or 6 years ago that have now gone to art school and come back, and they're doing graphic design jobs during the day, and then they're coming back here at night and helping me co-teach. And I would like to eventually hand Refuge off to my students. But
tell us a little bit about Build Something.
Build Something was just this really unique project that was kind of propelled by some of our kids that we were working with, our scholarship kids from Lowell, and they really expressed interest in wanting to do tiny houses, wanted to build tiny houses, and I switched my job at the time, so I started becoming really close with a lot of the middle schoolers, and it was just sort of this perfect meld of like the ideas and the concepts of my high schoolers and things they wanted to do, and bringing in the middle schoolers and kind of having them become a part of this. Build Something is really just about students learning to problem solve and using their imagination, learning how to do sophisticated things like coming up with blueprints and coming up with designs and understanding how to address issues that they might see for their, like they had to come up with a creature that we described to them, a very vague description of a creature, and the kids had to come up with this drawing of the creature. They had to design a home for the creature. They had to kind of think about the needs of that individual. And then in the second week, we really brought it home to them and tried to get them to think about their own personal needs as individuals and design homes for themselves. And it was just kind of a really awesome way to see these kids evolve in just such a short period of time, to do blueprints, to do design work, to do hands-on construction, to feel comfortable in that space, to feel really comfortable with tools, all different types of tools. It's kind of funny because the same kids I have in the public school setting, I have a room of like 23 students, and then I'll have like some of them being like, can I have the X-Acto knife? Can I have the clippers? Can I have the hot glue gun? And I'm like, I can't give you all that supply here because we have too many kids in this room. But they're so comfortable with their tools, and they're becoming more and more comfortable with their hands, and they're only, I mean, the majority of the kids here were the 5th grade group that I had last year, so they're really young, and to get them to feel like they're capable at such an early age, it makes me so excited to see what they're going to do in just a couple of years, you know. So yeah, they're my heart.
When did you start coming to Refuge?
My freshman year is when I first met Nikki Girafo, and that's when I started doing art, actually.
How do you think your art has changed from the time you've met her until now?
A lot. I didn't know types of art before I met Nikki, and after I met her, all my talents, skills, I found a whole bunch of new things about myself that I didn't know I had.
What kind of work do you like to do the most?
Stenciling and construction, building with 4, and painting here and there. I mean, art, it's all around us. Trees, nature is art, Lowell is art, it's history. I think it's important for kids to know the history of art and know their skills in art, because it's all around us and could get us far places.
Have you worked on any of the projects around the city that we might have seen?
Yes, I've worked on the border wall that's actually in the Merkland Playground Park.
Yeah.
I've worked on the mural right here. I've worked on a mural inside of Mill City Grows, as well as like a little mural inside my school.
That's great. What are you thinking of doing when you graduate?
I want to start my own business for stenciling, actually. And in the future, I plan to start building tiny houses.
That's awesome. That really is kind of you're really looking to something that's really hot right now, and then it will be bigger in the future.
Yep, I've already planned on sculpting the tiny houses and everything, so it's gonna be fun. Hopefully I could succeed with it.
Would you like to stay in Lowell, or you want to go off to somewhere else?
I want to stay in Lowell, but I do plan on traveling, but not to like move out of Lowell or anything. I want to stay here.
What would you say to young people that are maybe considering coming and checking out what Nikki's doing here?
When you meet Nikki Girafo, like, she's the person that will help you with anything, with your art. She'll show you skills that you didn't even know you had. It's just hard to explain. She's awesome. Her and Four are both awesome.
So I like art, and I like creating things, building things, like making them. And I had attempted it, and I had tried to see like what we were gonna do, and I had a lot of fun doing it.
What's your favorite part about coming here?
Learning about like how to build things, about art, and like I got to use new things that I never got to use before. I got to use a hot glue gun, micro pens, and I got to build a whole house out of Legos.
So, my name is Four Nichols. I'm one of the co-founders of Refuge and one of the masterminds behind Build Something.
Most importantly, how did you and Nikki meet?
Oh, geez. Well, we met a long, long time ago. Wanted to do something together, so we started a classroom in our loft, and we outgrew that, and so then we got a classroom over here in Western Ave Studios, and it just kind of kept morphing from one thing to the next. And now it's in its current state. We're doing a lot of portfolio development for kids that want to go to school, as well as some murals around the town of Lowell, and also Build Something is the first time we've been doing this here at the class. It was kind of based out of a Lowell Cultural Council grant, as well. It was sort of a brainchild of the Mill Cities Leadership Institute with Todd Fry. So
Yeah.
I pitched the idea from there. We got the grant through LCC, and we just went for it.
How many kids were involved to Build Something, and how did it evolve from what you thought it was going to be to what it ended up being in the end?
So, I mean, oddly enough, it went really well as far as like what we were expecting is what we got out of it. Really, it was just something that came out of, she works with a lot of middle schoolers in the public school setting, and so much talent there. And, and with the amount of problems that kids face today and some of the challenges they have to overcome, it's like, we're like, why don't we have a curriculum that just teaches them to, in a fun way, identify problems and design their way through them? You know what I mean? Like, if there's a problem, you can figure out a solution, but it requires a little bit of thinking and planning to do so sometimes. So I think getting them started young doing that is how we're gonna really solve some problems down the road.
Like a lot of the kids from, we spoke to Nikki earlier, a lot of kids seem to be interested in building tiny houses.
Oh yeah. It's becoming a bigger thing too, as things become more scarce for everybody. The idea of having something that you can control yourself and you can own yourself and you can build yourself, and you have more of a say in what happens with it, I think it's a powerful thing, and it will probably continue to rise. I mean, as people start looking for those things that they need in their lives, they're going to have to get real crafty with it. And so the tiny house movement or the earthship movement, those are great examples of that. And so if the kids get started with that before they get mired in debt or locked into something they maybe didn't want to do with their lives, like, I think that'd be a huge win for some of them. I mean, some kids want to go the other route, but there's always going to be those kids that are more vocationally based and really hands-on. And I think this class was really kind of trying to promote that.
Why do you like working with kids?
They're really funny. I mean, I think they're funny, and like they're a lot of fun to be around, and they have some really fresh ideas, and they're just not afraid to like throw things out there and make mistakes. But also, I mean, kind of going back to what we were just talking about, is they have so much potential in front of them. You know what I mean? Like, these kids, they have everything in front of them. It's just a matter of convincing them that they can do things. You know what I mean? And I think that's the other fun part of it, is just empowering the kids to feel like they are more in control of their future, rather than kind of at the mercy of where life takes them.
What were you like as a kid artistically? What were you interested in?
I was always running around outside. I loved Legos. Legos were like my jam when I was a kid. And, very outdoorsy, very hands-on. My favorite subjects in school were always like your shop classes, your art classes, most of the vocational things. I didn't really play any organized sports, and I was always kind of like that B or C student. But when it came to the hands-on stuff, that's when I really loved it.
What would you like to see, other projects in the future for Refuge? What would you like to see down the line?
Well, I definitely love the public displays of art, like the murals and like the bottle wall that we have done. That's huge because it becomes a part of the community wherever it's at. I also love this kind of an idea of marrying art and science and art and design, because those are two things that both help people think, creatively, as well as to solve problems, and also to have fun with it too. Like, I mean, you can build something, but you can also have fun designing something and doing something different. You can build a box, or you can build a rectangle or a triangle or a circle. You know what I mean? Very small differences, but just to have the ability to choose is good. Design is where it's at. Like, I do a lot of designing in my own life. I'm a handyman by trade, so I'm constantly solving problems for people. And most of the time, it has to be unconventional. You're not building something from the ground up. You're usually repairing something that exists already. You're making something better, and you're problem solving all the time. And I mean, that's what I'm into, and I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of other people into it in the future, as well as into it now. And I just want to help promote that. I want to help promote people being interested in art and making things beautiful and aesthetically pleasing and full of meaning, but also to have those fundamental skills of making things work when you're actually putting it into action. So making it both practical and beautiful.